So
Yep.
when you're an outside chief coming in, what did that look like to you since you were sort of, and you weren't chief at first, you were an operations commander and then you were promoted to chief?
That's right. So I knew that it was going to be an uphill battle. And I knew that if I did not get it right at first, that my chances of being successful there long term were not good. So I thought to myself, all right, how can I start to build trust with a bunch of people who do not even know who I am? And so, a couple of different things I'll share with you. I decided that a handwritten note would be the best way. And so I called up to dispatch, or maybe to an administrative assistant type person. And I said, hey, I'm the new commander coming in. I need a list of everybody's name and the position that they work in, please. And so she emailed it to me. And over a couple of weekends, I went and got some nice paper, just blank paper. And I took those names and I took my pen and I hand wrote every one of them, 8.5 by 11. This is who I am. This is what you can expect from me. This is what I expect from you. I'm really excited to meet you. And when I left, there were still some folks who had that letter pinned in their office. I never would have imagined it would have made such a difference. But, and I'm not saying that that alone was it, but it was a good start, especially as an outsider coming in. The second thing that I would offer that I think leaders often underestimate is your reputation. It would have been foolish for me to think that all of those people I was stepping in to lead didn't call around and ask their buddies, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this guy? I know you've worked with him before, or he was your supervisor or whatever. And what those people said about me mattered far more than anything else. And guess what? When I applied for that job, there was no longer anything I could do to change those words. They weren't mine. Those were the people that I'd had the privilege of leading. And had those two things, I think, not gone well, I don't I don't think I would have been successful there. But I think the letters really helped. And I think what other people said about what it was like to work for me or with me kind of opened the doors and gave me an opportunity, a fair shot, I guess, at coming in and been able to try to lead those guys and gals.
Yeah, because just because you have a title does not automatically grant that you get respect or trust, right?
That's right. Nor should it,
Right.
in my opinion.
I am curious. I love the example of the handwritten notes, just because you're acknowledging the humans in the organization and not just treating them as just a general employee. But how many notes did you write, and how much time did you invest in that?
At that time, it was probably about 50,
Yeah,
and it took a couple of weekends.
yeah,
Probably between the time I found out that I'd gotten the job and when I was going to start, because what I wanted to do was on day one put them in everybody's box because I knew there were going to be day shift and night shift, and I wasn't going to see everybody, nor was I going to be introduced to them for a while.
mhm,
And the last thing I wanted was for that reputation to build or be crafted by someone other than me. So
mhm.
if the first impression they had of me was what they read in their mailbox, then I felt like that was starting off on the right foot.
Yeah, I think that's such a great example and really shows that return on investment that you spent a handful of hours showing who you were to those employees as well. But then, like you said, it really made an impact going forward.
And it's so simple. It
Hmm.
cost me $5 in paper and some
Right.
time, but it was very meaningful.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's because my mom made me sit down and write thank you notes, after Christmas and birthdays and all the
Yeah.
things. But you're right. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, I wanted them to know this guy sat down and he
Mhm.
took a pen and
Yeah.
he thought about these words. He didn't type it out. He didn't text me. He wrote this for
Mhm.
me. And I hope that that conveyed he cares. And
Yeah.
I think being perceived as someone who truly cares about the people on your team is a great beginning to that foundation of trust.
Absolutely.